For some reason, actually not for some reason, it's because for hundreds and hundreds of years, what women wear has been dictated by men. We have dressed as accessories to the men, as secondary to men. That's not hating on men, this is just how it's been because...
I want to talk to you about what you're wearing. Are you dressing for yourself or are you dressing for other people? Because fashion isn't just about clothes, it's about identity, it's about belonging, it's about self-expression and sometimes even avoidance. Welcome to the Lifestyle Prescription on Pharmacy Planet. I'm Rena Annobil, and on this episode, we are going to be taking a holistic look at the psychology of style. We're going to be getting into aging. We're going to be getting into the influence of social media, overconsumption, and various other things, and also how what we wear has an effect on our mental health. So first, let me introduce my guest for this episode. She is a doctor of psychology, fashion psychologist, a media commentator and researcher. It is Dr. Dion Terrelonge.
Hello,
Hi.
thank you. That sounds impressive when you read it like that.
You are impressive.
Who are you talking about?
Own it. You are impressive. Okay, so fashion psychologists, right? A lot of people might be wondering, what does a fashion psychologist do?
Yeah, and I don't blame them for wondering that because it's not one of the traditional areas of psychology. Yeah. And there's a few people out there now kind of popping up who will say they're fashion psychologists. But I think each of us practices in a slightly different way. So it's probably quite tricky to understand what we do. But from my perspective and thinking about my own practice, as a fashion psychologist, I am a psychologist first and foremost who is a trained psychologist. And what I have done is I'm taking like the knowledge and the research and the theories and the frameworks of psychology and taking those, almost transposing them and applying them to fashion. And I'm doing that to help us understand fashion a bit better, to understand our own interactions with fashion, to understand how clothing makes us feel, to help us understand how we make decisions around fashion, help us understand why we consume so much, help us understand what I guess like fashion brands, what marketing they use to get us to buy so much. All of that is psychology. It's all human behaviour and understanding how we interact with our environment. So that's what I do in terms of fashion psychology.
And as well as that, do you kind of get a sense of who a person is from looking at the way that they dress?
Do you know what? You do a little bit. You do a little bit because when you walk into a room or walk into any space, your clothes say a lot about you before you open your mouth. I always say that, and it's true. But you're not necessarily getting the whole truth of a person, obviously. You are getting what that person wants to show you of themselves on that day, at that time, in that situation. Because we all know we dress differently for different situations. Like what you might wear to a job interview is one thing, and then what you might wear out raving is another thing. But they're both you, but they're different sides of you or different parts of you, or the part of you that you want to share. So I think, when you look at what a person's wearing, what you can say is, this is potentially, if that person has choice and agency of their own clothing, this is the person they want me to see them as today. Okay. Or how they want to be seen today.
And how would you describe your own relationship with fashion and style?
I say as I sit here all in black today. How would I describe my own relationship to fashion and style? I love fashion, I do. But I would describe myself as a fashion voyeur in that I'm much more interested in what other people are wearing. I love watching runway shows and watching the beautifully crafted gown, like not necessarily just gowns, but like outfits, and just thinking about the thought behind them and the feelings they evoke in you as you watch them. I love that. I love nothing more than just kind of being down Brick Lane in East London on a weekend and just watching the fashion.
I love that
fashion
too, yeah.
traffic. Love it. I could watch them all day, which is a bit creepy, but I really I really like it, yeah.
No, but there is something about places like London which is quite freeing as well, like in terms of and like having lived in London and then moving away, you really do notice that people do dress more conservatively and differently, and in London you can it's kind of like anything goes, and I love that about London.
People dress, often you see people dress more conservatively and more of the same, when there is a risk to being different. The greater the risk to being different, then the less likely you are to see that. We see it when countries or areas become potentially more conservative in their views, and also if they're more cliquey or If they are more homogenous in the demographic, you might see that as well. But when you have a lot of difference there already, visible difference, so like different races, different cultures, different religions, and also the thing about London, this is not a London campaign, but is that it's a city of strangers. And once you move there, you don't have that history of who you were in primary school and secondary school, and those same people buzzing around you. So you're able to reinvent yourself. And there's so many different pockets of people that you can just find almost like your new in-group if you want to. So I think it's quite freeing in that way. You can just let go.
Absolutely. How can we tell, though, if we are dressing, for ourselves, to kind of express our own self-expression, or we're doing it for approval? Because you did say that we dress differently for different things.
Yeah. How can you tell? I think we know, don't we? We know, and I would say to a person, just listen to your own inner narrative, your inner script. I kind of think of it like a record. I guess if there's any young listeners, maybe... I guess they're on trend now again, vinyls.
They are
call them vinyls. So if you think of it like a vinyl with like the music almost etched into it, you've got the little grooves when the needle goes down. That is like the story that plays in your head. And ask yourself, when that needle goes down in your brain, when you're getting dressed in the morning, what does it play? What does it say? And if it's saying to you, you don't look good in that, your arms look too fat, or people are going to think, who are you to even wear that? Do you think you're too much for yourself? Then you can tell you're dressing for other people, because it's about what does that voice say. If your voice is saying, I feel good in this. Oh, this feels like me today. Oh, I love this item. I remember when I wore it here. It reminds me of this person. If your narrative is saying I, then you know you're dressing for yourself. If your narrative in your head that's playing is saying, what will other people think? It's literally as simple as that. But I think that people do split into these kind of two camps of being either an kind of internally motivated dresser, where they're dressing for their own enjoyment, their own excitement, their own creativity, their own mood, their own feelings. If they want to be warm that day, if they want to feel like they feel a bit sad, they want like a cuddle from like an oversized jumper that keeps them warm and has that bit of weight on you. Or are you saying, oh, I've got to go to this event, everyone's going to be wearing sequins and looking all shiny, well, I don't know why they're shiny, and I better too. If you can hear what you're saying to yourself, but I think the reason people might not notice if they are dressing for themselves or other people is because they might not have taken the time to slow down to listen to those thoughts. I remember when I used to be a stylist, and I would hear people, those thoughts came out loud. That's how I knew. And that's why I said about the arms. I remember there was a woman and I was taking her shopping, and I said, what are we looking for today? And she said, I need an outfit for my birthday. And it's the birthday at my family's home. She said, I want something that just hides my arms so my family don't comment on how big my arms are.
Oh, man.
So what was she looking for? Something for herself or something for other people straight away? Or this other woman who said, oh, I'm looking for a pair of jeans. I said, okay, let's look in this shop. I won't name it. And she's like, I can't go in there. So I said, that's not for me. So there she had a narrative in her head as to who that shop was for and who it represented, and it wasn't her. But I was like, it sells jeans and you have fortunate enough to have two legs. So those two legs will go in the two legs of the jeans. They're for you. But people have these narratives, and it's like this internalized voice that we've taken on board, this third person judging us and that we're thinking about when we're dressing.
Just thinking about the state of the fashion industry now, and just like trends and things like that, like in terms of like how women are dressing now, like, do you think that there is like less dressing for the male gaze at the moment? Or do you think that it's going the other way?
Yeah, I made a bit of a weird face this then. Because a bit of dissonance came across me, I think, because it's shifting. Isn't it? I feel the shift. I think we got into quite a good place of this trajectory of begin to dress more for ourselves in terms of taking risks, having fun, and fashion becoming more about experimentation. And I think social media did play a bit of a part in that, because people could put on outfits at home and just show the world. It wasn't about going out, and it wasn't about, you could live in any area and there could have been people around you in your local area that didn't quite understand your style, but you could hop online and then still find your people. So you had that opportunity. But I think with the rise of things like tradwives and we are seeing more of a drift in the fashion world back to more conservative styles, that I think we are starting to see more of that male gaze popping back in again a little bit. And I'm not sure what that is due to. I think there's a little bit of the political nature, which I won't go into, what's going on in the world at the moment with countries. We see this regression, and we call it like a regression or deviation to the norm, whereby, like, speaking statistically, if your data set kind of goes up and down, undulates, and you've got the average here, it might drift away for a little while. But historically, we always come back to this kind of norm. We drift back. So I think we became very liberal, very left-leaning throughout the 2020s, the 2015s, the 2000s.
Even with body image, I see
Yes,
this.
there we go.
That
And
we
that's
had
a
a
perfect
lovely
example.
time where it was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to wear what I want. I haven't got a flat stomach.
Yes.
You know, I've got lumps and bumps. I'm proudly
Yeah.
just wearing what I want. And then I feel like it's just,
It's
and
drifting.
I find that quite worrying and
Yes.
surprising, because I was, for me, somebody who was brought up in the, 90s and early 2000s,
Yeah.
80s even.
Oh, that's prime time for...
That was like, you're not
Yeah.
going to wear these clothes unless you resemble Kate Moss, right? So I had to, talking myself out of that kind of thing, was quite happy to see where we were heading, and now it's
drifting back. That's
yeah.
a deviation of the norm. And unfortunately, for some reason, actually not for some reason, it's because for hundreds and hundreds of years, what women wear has been dictated by men. We have dressed as accessories to the men, as secondary to men. This is not hating on men. This is just how it's been, because men were the ones that worked. Men were the ones that held the power. So you had to dress in a way to be picked to be a wife. Because remember, like, if you didn't get married, you were ruined, or you were seen as a spinster. You had no future, like, historically,
Yeah.
way back. So I think there's something about dressing to please and dressing for survival. And that's, again, where you come back to dressing to take risks. Often we dress in a way that keeps us safe, because even if you go back thousands of years, you dress in a way that let people know, I'm like you, so then you can be part of the group, part of the community, and share resources. If you're too different, you can become foe,
Yeah.
and then you're on the outskirts. So there's a lot of narrative around safety.
I mean, I think that it is an important point to raise in this podcast episode, which is mostly women are going to watch. I think that is quite an
Yeah.
important thing to kind of bear in mind, how it was historically and everything. What about, like, the just generally, like, the way that we behave when we wear certain things? Like, what is the impact of what we wear on our moods and our behaviour? Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of, there definitely is an interaction. So I think when you look at fashion, or we think about clothing, we think a lot about kind of person perception, meaning how we are seen by other people. But there's this other interaction as well, the kind of interpersonal, about how we feel in our clothes, what's the impact on ourselves and our mood and our emotions. And there definitely is a link. I don't know about you, but have you ever been to a party where you've gone in there and you've worn something that you think, why did I wear this? I should have worn the other outfit. I felt much more comfortable in the other outfit. I felt much more myself in the other outfit. And then suddenly in that space, you feel a bit more self-conscious. Perhaps you're not putting yourself forward in the best way. Perhaps you're not speaking up as loudly and as confidently as you did in that moment, because your brain is distracted by the fact you don't feel comfortable in what you're wearing. There's something about that interplay, because your clothing is literally physically the closest thing to you on most days. And it's the thing that you choose to wear each day to carry you throughout your day. And there is an incredibly personal relationship. There's studies that show it impacts your cognitions, how you think. If you don't feel comfortable in what you're wearing, then especially for women, your brain is distracted, thinking about how you look and how you feel in your clothing. If your trousers are too tight, if you feel your top is riding down or falling over your shoulder, then your brain is distracted. And it's been found that women then don't perform as well on tests, like maths tests and things, as opposed to when they're wearing something that they are comfortable in. So
Wow.
it really
It does have an impact. Yeah, it does have an impact. A lot of women would say, and I think it really, this depends on whereabouts you are in your life, what phase you're in, but feeling stuck, feeling in a bit of a rut when it comes to like personal style. Like, do you see that a lot? Like, people feeling lost? And I guess, like, the phases of life that I'm thinking about, which might trigger things like that, I guess, like, I don't know, having kids, having a baby, it's a massive life change. I know for me, I probably didn't even like wear anything other than like leggings and random hoodies for like years when I was a stay-at-home mum, right? And then, like, aging as well. People, like friends, even send me pictures on WhatsApp. Should I buy these, or are these too old, or is this too young? And they know that I'm the kind of person who's going to be like, just buy the thing. Who even cares? Like, and I think that's probably why they're asking me.
Yeah. Do you like it? Yes. I wouldn't say just buy it. I'd say buy secondhand first. But if you like it, then get it. Yeah. But sorry, what was the first part of your question?
So basically, why are there so many women who do feel lost when it comes to their personal style?
Stuck in a style, right? I see it all the time, and it does happen around those kind of key stages of life, doesn't it? When there's been a change, and I was wondering about this the other day, and I think it probably is in part to, you know, when we think about style, is personal style, and when something is going on for you in your life where you're not able to think about yourself, that personal element gets lost because you're so busy as a mother thinking about and tending to other people. If you are very, very busy in your work, you're so busy and focused on that work and meeting deadlines and getting that done, that thinking about yourself, what your values are, what your good attributes are, what you like, what you don't like, what you want, it gets pushed to the wayside. You know, especially as women, we're very quick to put ourselves aside in lieu of somebody else or something else. So I think you can get stuck in a style rut when you find for months or even years you have not had that time or the headspace to even say, hang on a minute, I've got dressed today. Did I like what I've put on? Is this how I want to present myself to the world? How do I want to present myself to the world? Who am I right now? You don't have that time sometimes. It can feel indulgent. Sometimes all you have time for is to grab the first clean thing. And I know some mums don't have that chance. They just grab anything because they know it's going to be dirty, get in 2 seconds with little hands. So I think it's like that you as a person get put to a side sometimes. And when that happens, you don't have time to think about your personal style.
What do you think about the saying, dress for the life you want to live? Because I have heard that. You're looking at me like, what the hell? Some people have said that, you know.
People say all sorts. They say retail therapy and dress to impress.
Yeah.
I say dress to impress, but to impress yourself. Yeah. Dress the life. I think that people for too long have been trying to dress the life they want, and that is what has led people to have wardrobes of clothing they don't wear, and they open the doors and say, I've got nothing to wear. Yes, because you've got a wardrobe full of attire for a red carpet event when you've never been to one. So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. I think you should dress for the person that you want to be and the person that you want to present for yourself. And I'm going to keep saying that because that's what I mean. And I think that you need to think about the life that you lead right now and the clothes that will serve you and allow you to face that world and that life that you live confidently with your head held high and feeling comfortable. So if you are, you know, a person who has a job where they're always on the go and you're busy after work every day and you've got children, then you need to think about practicality as well, because what you don't want to be doing is wearing a bodycon dress all day. Unless you feel very comfortable now. I know I wouldn't. It's not very practical for running around and stilettos. How are you going to run for the bus or run for a train or if you're running late?
Yeah.
So I think it's about that balance. It's about thinking about the life that you live right now, what you need to serve you and get you through that in the best way you can. But also having fun with it. So not to be too practical to the detriment or to the loss of fun and enjoyment. Think about, okay, yes, I need to be practical. I need things with pockets. I need to be able to carry a big bag to carry my laptop and my notebook and everything. But I'm going to get one that's bright yellow because it's my favourite colour. But I'm going to get one that, you know, has lots of chains and gold because I like adornment. So just thinking about that, it's like taking clothing and fashion and just make it work for you. You don't work for fashion. Fashion should work for you.
Yeah, because do you think that sometimes there is this version of the way that we kind of, the person that we want to be in terms of dressing and then the one that we actually are? Because in my head, I'm basically a brown Carrie Bradshaw walking around with stilettos, like tottering around, running around, catching public transport and running around the streets of London.
Yes.
I don't live that life, you know. I don't live that life. It's not going to work for me. And there's no, do you know what I mean? I can't really wear those things.
There's also like a trap that people can fall into, I think. You know, I think there's something about, if you say, for example, if you're an artist and you aspire to be an artist who can like live off their work and is known for their art and, you know, you want to go show at like, I don't know, Art Basel or whatever. Is it Basel? You know what I mean? Then you might dress in a certain way until you get that life. And that's fine. That's aspirational as long as it still works for your day-to-day life. But you know, if you are constantly thinking about how you should dress and how you want to dress in this idealized life, if the gap between your ideal self and where you actually are, your actual self, is too big, it's in that gap that unhappiness can creep in, resentment can creep in, dissatisfaction creeps in, because you're saying, well, this is where I want to be. And this is where social media, when I open a magazine, fashion says I ought to be. I ought to be wearing the latest trends. I ought to be looking fantastic all the time and put together. And I'm not there. Therefore, I failed. And in that gap is where dissatisfaction lies. So you want that gap to be as small as it can, where you actually are and where you'd ideally like to be. You need to be closer. The closer they are, the more content you would be.
So I want to just kind of focus now on how fashion and style and even things like colors and can actually boost our, you know, our mood, our self-esteem, and be very positive for our mental health. Like what would you say about like the psychology of like color and things like that when it comes to moods?
I'm not.
I mean, I know you wear. Let's ignore the fact that you're wearing black. That's fine. You are.
Yeah.
I see pops of green. I see pops of red. I see pops of gold. So
yes, but
you
then
got
that's
it
the thing. I think I made that inhalation because I think if anybody's ever heard me speak before or written, I'm quite a naysayer when it comes to the psychology of color.
Right.
Because it's so personal and there's cultural narratives in it, so it varies so much between where you live in the world, between your religious background, where you grew up, what your family, what that meant to you, what you associate it with. So yes, I'm wearing all black today, but I love wearing all black. So it does make me happy. So people would say, you know, you should wear bright colours to feel happy. What if I'm a goth? What if I'm a hardcore raver from Berlin? I'm not gonna, you know, why? Now do I, now do I wear bright colours?
Yeah.
No. So it's about your association. So I think there is something about colour. So there's something about colour more kind of like neuropsychologically in terms of there are certain colours that is harder for the eye to process, and therefore the eye is caught more by them, you're drawn in. So there's theories around like if you want to be noticed when you walk into a room, yes, wear red because it's a colour that has like different wavelengths, so your eye is more drawn to people wearing red because you're trying to process it. So it draws your attention. That's why it's used for stop signs and for danger. That's why. So there's that psychology. But in terms of the individual person, if you are a person who likes attention, likes people to turn and look when you walk in a room, then that will lift your mood because you're getting what you want from wearing that colour. But if you're a person whose favourite colour is black or grey and then you wear red, it won't do that for you. Or if you're a person who doesn't love attention, it won't do that for you. So I think we need to think about the symbolism behind colours. You know, for example, you're kind of wearing purples today, and that looks great on your skin tone, looks great on you, and I'm presuming you like that colour?
I do like this colour, yeah.
Great. And then, but in some cultures, I'm not saying anything too bad, don't worry, in some cultures, it's linked to mourning, and bereavement and loss. So if you're a person for whom your family comes from that culture or you've grown up in that culture, you might not feel very happy when you put purple on because it's associated with loss and mourning. So it's going to vary person to person. And other people might associate purple with what it has been linked with historically in the West, which is wealth and monarchy and royalty, status. Yeah. So maybe that's what you're channeling today. So it will depend on you as a person.
And also like the whole cultural thing. I think when you talked about culture, I really do feel like that does make an impact. Because when I think about myself and like, you know, being Indian and when I go there, like it's literally people will wear every colour of the rainbow, lovely, like all at the same time, and it's not a thing, and it's not like neutrals everywhere and stuff. Like, there isn't that. And same like if I go to like where my husband's from, to Ghana, and there's also, it's very vibrant, and I think because you know what I mean, like if you're there and you kind of are immersed in these cultures, it becomes that use of the colour becomes very kind of normal to you and in your house and stuff as well, I guess.
Yeah, of course. And pattern in terms of psychology, and I think a lot of fashion psychologists talk about a lot is enclosed cognition, which just basically means that sometimes when you wear certain items of clothing that you strongly associate with a particular value or a trait. So, for example, if you I don't know, if I came in here wearing like a blazer and I felt that made me think about women in power, and I thought about kind of Michelle Obama, then I might feel when I came in here
Right.
a bit more powerful,
Yeah.
a bit more eloquent. Whatever I associate with Michelle Obama, I might take on those traits. And that's been shown to happen. This is why you dress up for interviews, because you're trying to personify the traits that you want to show the other person. But in terms of colour, the same thing can happen, or patterns. If you associate yellow with happiness and spring and new beginnings, and you feel like, do you know what, this week I feel like I need a fresh start. It's Monday, I'm going to really get going in a positive way, and you put on yellow, then you're going to feel that. You're going to feel like I have the power to have a fresh start, the power to make change because of your own personal associations. But another person may not think the same way. So that's why I say it's personal.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. If somebody is feeling quite down for whatever reason in life, like, would you ever kind of encourage or recommend them to, I don't know, alter the way they dress or think about the way they dress in a different way to just boost their mood a little bit?
It depends on, obviously, what's going on for them. I have seen with social media some people online who kind of wield psychology, talking about, dressing your way out of like almost depression. I'm like, no. Let's put those kind of false narratives out there. But I think fashion and clothing, it does have the power to lift mood a little bit. We've got different types of happiness. You've got eudaimonic happiness, which is kind of like doing good. It's the type of happiness you get from helping other people, from doing charity work, from achieving, from working hard. That's eudaimonic happiness. But then you have the more kind of short-term, instant gratification, which is hedonic happiness. Is what I get, it's that what I get it from eating sweets, basically, or having a nice glass of wine, or having a little dance. That's hedonic well-being and happiness. But you can also get it from your clothing. So if you put on something that you think, oh, I feel really confident when I wear this, or it reminds me of that time I had a fantastic night out with my partner or with friends, or whatever it is, then it can lift your mood a little bit. Or it could be as simple as wearing like a football shirt from your favourite team because you love that team, or something with a face on of your favourite artist, or like in terms of like musical artist. So I think, again, it really does have the power to lift your mood. And I've seen it in people whereby sometimes fashion, when you use that word, it gets people's backs up because it can be quite exclusionary. And I think fashion trades on being exclusionary, and kind of, look at Burberry when they rebranded themselves, and they did that specifically because they felt too many people of a certain demographic, which they call in the UK chavs, were wearing their brand. So they distanced themselves from that check. Why? If the people who came from a certain background wanted to wear your brand, why can't they wear it? And they felt it changed the narrative of their brand, that it devalued their brand, and it wasn't for that type of person, it's only for this type of person. And I think people are very aware of that fashion says, I'm only for this type of person, people who are of this class, people who are this thin, people who are this young. So sometimes, rather than trying to put yourself out there and try to dress fashionably, people shun it and they keep it away for fear of failing, or for fear of not being good enough, or for fear of being seen to try. We don't like to be seen to try in the UK. That's a bit of a ick for us sometimes. So there's a lot going on for people. It's a very difficult relationship we have with our clothing and fashion.
Yeah, that whole thing of being seen to try too hard. So do you think it is a UK thing then, do you think? Have you noticed?
I don't know about other cultures, but I feel like if you compare to America, whereby they're very comfortable talking about themselves and saying what they're good at, like let's say, I am this, I am funny, I am smart, I am a go-getter. You don't hear that in England as much.
No.
It's something that people have to say of you. You can't say it of yourself. And also, if a person says, oh, you look great today, go, oh, it's nothing, I just threw it on.
Yeah, this old thing, oh no, I found it on the street somewhere. Yeah.
You downplay it. Even when you introduced me, I felt uncomfortable, and I was like, I don't know, don't say that. Just say Dion's here. That's it. It's like
Dr. Dion Terrelonge. That is who you are.
No, and see, again, it feels like, weird. And I think there is something about being seen to try. Again, when I was styling people, I would put people in outfits sometimes, that weren't that loud particularly, but but they said, oh, I don't know if I can wear this. People will think I'm trying too hard, or people will think, where am I going in this? People, again, you hear that. Who are you dressing for? People will think. I think as a species anyway, love to fit in. We love to be part of a pack. We want to feel safe amongst our peers and to say, look, I'm like you. I don't think I'm better than you. I don't think I'm too... We can be a little bit different, but not too different from you. And it's about your culture. So like I said, in Ghana, if that means wearing is it kente print they wear in Ghana, I think?
That's the traditional one, yeah.
Like wearing like a great kente print. You won't... If you wore that, maybe just walking around, I don't know, Surrey, I don't know, you might look like you stand out a little bit as opposed to wearing that in the streets of Ghana. So it's always about fitting in, because that's where, again, where safety lies.
Well, is this what trends are about, though? Are trends about, fitting in? And...
Oh, they're just new ways to fit in, aren't they? They're just new ways of fitting in, because somebody signals to the world, says, everybody alert, this is the new trend. And again, to fit in, and it's not to fit into one group, it's about what group you want to fit into. So you'll be looking at, and that's why we have social media influencers of a certain age or demographic, and you're blinking at that.
No, because I am at the point where I'm like, I don't know what I did to make my algorithm recommend things to me like, wear this with this.
Oh no.
I'm just like, what did I do wrong? Because I want to sort this out, because I literally don't care I don't want to wear this.
I hovered over something for a second too long.
I did. And now it's like, right, this is the new colour combination that you should be wearing. This is this, I'm just, no, it's not. Because I don't care anymore. And I don't care that you're supposed to do this, or you're supposed to do these kind of tuck-ins of your shirts and this and that. I'm literally like, I could go on there and be like, well, look at me. I think you've got to wear, a slightly different textured purple and then put it with this, and this is what we're doing, and you've got to put your socks I don't.
There's a lot of that.
There is, and to the point where I feel like I'm just so saturated with it now.
Yeah, and there's patterns in that as well. Have you noticed? I think there's patterns around. You have to do the new thing that makes you look young. So I don't know about you, but being a millennial, it's like I remember thinking going to the gym and wearing my trainer socks, looking around thinking, no one's wearing trainer socks anymore. Everybody's putting their socks up.
Yeah.
I better pull my socks up. And then, our French tuck is out now. The French tuck that Tam Tran does on Queer Eye. No more of that. That's a very millennial thing as well. So, and then you've got the young ones taking the mickey out of us online. You think, God, do I do that? Do I need to stop doing that? And I think because there is this, fashion is obsessed with youth. And as much as we try to shake it, even affects me. I will find myself taking it on. I'll find myself second guessing and pulling my socks up. I will find myself not tucking my shirt in. I will find myself wearing wide leg. Skinny jeans are gone. To be fair, actually, they're gone because they were uncomfortable for me anyway. I was glad they went.
I know they were a bit ridiculous. However, they're not gone from the shops.
No.
They're not gone from the shops, and people still want to buy them. And so there's some people who will never let go of those skinny jeans, and you know what? Good for them.
Because often people find their style at a certain point in life. So you explore your identity, usually around your teens. When you start wearing all sorts of things, you go, I'm so glad there's no pictures of me in my teens, because I tried so many things that now looking back I'm thinking, what on earth? But there's no evidence, luckily. But people experiment in their teens to find out, who am I? Who am I to myself? Who am I to my family? Who am I to other people? Who do I want to be? So you literally use clothes to try on different versions of yourself. And often, once people find a self they're relatively comfortable with, they stay wearing that same style. It's why you see older people kind of maybe still having like a purple rinse. They're still rocking it. They're still wearing a cute cardigan. They're still wearing a blouse. It's not in fashion right now. But it doesn't matter, because that was their style once they found it. And same with people wearing skinny jeans. Some people still wear skinny jeans because that is what they wore when they were in their teens or in their early 20s, and they were out with their friends and they felt most themselves and they felt happy in themselves. So they stick with it. That's what they know. It's what they feel comfortable in. And why not? To me, they cut off my circulation in my calves, so I don't really care for them. But
I mean, I've got to say, Dion, that I have a certain level of respect for people that are like, this. I'm sticking with this thing from when I was 20, and this is my thing. Yes. I wear this kind of jacket, and that's me. Yeah. Like I've got, you know what I mean? Respect to you.
It's good enough for Simon Cowell.
Yeah,
he's not budging, so
yeah, exactly. But. Coming on to the negative effects of style and fashion now, in your view, what are those? Like, I guess something that what I something that I have thought about and probably fell into the pattern of is retail therapy. I do say that I am a recovered shopaholic, and I've spoken to other. Yeah, I am. No, because I was I spent a lot of money on things that I couldn't afford, like in my 20s, which was not great. So I totally understand anybody who is going down that route. Like, would you say that was one of the biggest negative effects of fashion and stuff?
Like overspending I think overconsumption is obviously the biggest issue, because of the massive impact on people on the planet. Speaking of Ghana, think about the Kentamonto market there, which had a massive fire recently, where so many of our waste clothes are going to and flooding the market, more than they can sell, more than they can carry, damaging women's necks as they try to carry these bales of clothing that we've discarded because we've worn it once and we've had a picture of it, and now it's on social media and we can't wear it again. It's ridiculous. It's polluting the beaches. It's it's devastating, the impact it's having on the planet. But we carry on, and we carry on because as human beings we like to feel good, and our brains are wired in a way whereby we want to maximize our positive affect, which is positive emotions, and minimize negative affect. And one way we can do that is through clothing. And the reason this particular issue now of overspending as well is because fashion has become more accessible than ever because of the prices. I don't know about you, but I know growing up, you had to save sometimes. You say, oh, I've seen this great pair of jeans in Tammy Girl or Miss Selfridge, and you're like, I'm going to save, I'm going to get them. And you know what? You can save for a month. You go back, they're still there. Now, trends change so fast that they might not be there. There's no guarantee. And also, I think what it does is it gets people kind of always chasing the next thing, which doesn't allow you to feel settled in yourself, settled in your own personal style. How can you find your personal style if you're always changing trends as well? And then I think, the biggest impacts, there's so many, I think.
But it's talking about our mental health, right?
Yeah.
And overconsumption and chasing this next thing. That cannot be good for us to always have that going on,
No, again, it breeds that dissatisfaction, doesn't it? Because you're never satisfied with what you have. You open your wardrobe and nothing brings you joy anymore, as the same way as when you bought it. Because when you bought it, you were able to hunt it. You bought it, you got that dopamine hit. But the dopamine hit doesn't last because there's no attachment to that item of clothing. It doesn't mean anything to you. You haven't built any memories in it because you've only worn it once. So you haven't had to work for it. So you haven't had that gratification, that satisfaction of having saved for it, of taking your time and hunted it down in that way. So your literal emotional connection to that item of clothing is far less than it would be had you taken your time, had you thought about, does it really reflect me? Does it really make me feel like the true version of myself? Do I really even want it to go away and come back? So it's almost like a Teflon relationship that you build up with your clothing, as opposed to a real bond with it, is what tends to happen when you shop too much. Yeah.
So do you think that we need to be buying less, but I don't know, what would you say, better things, but less of them, so that we can really kind of appreciate the things that we have, which is obviously the opposite of fast fashion?
Yeah, of course, it's the opposite of fast fashion. Yeah. I think number one is slow down. We don't need as much as we think we need, and we think we need more because of the fact that clothing is so accessible these days. It's, being produced cheaper than ever because of exploitation, factories and things. They're using poor quality fabrics. The quality of the sewing has the hems, the seams, it falls apart faster. Everything about planned obsolescence is designed that way to then get you to come back and buy more, because it does not last. And I think in terms of its impact on our mental health and our well-being, there's obviously the spending more than you have. And I think what I'm seeing is actually people using shopping as a band-aid. And you mentioned retail therapy there. The world at the moment is in quite a dire position, more today than ever in recent years. But we feel, out of control in terms of mortgages are so high, the price of property is so high. So it's harder for young people to buy a mortgage. I think, what's the point? I'm never going to get a house, but I can buy that bag. That's what I can do right now. I can buy those jeans right now. What's the point? I can never save enough to retire because the market keeps moving. So I might as well buy that item of clothing. So we're seeing a bit of revenge dressing there. And I think what we're seeing is people also the levels of anxiety are higher than they've been historically. So something about quelling your anxieties and quelling kind of like low mood, not quite depression, but quelling low mood by buying yourself things, by kind of treating yourself, making yourself feel better. And that's that retail therapy. But it is just a sticking plaster. It does not deal with the root cause. It does not in the long term make you feel better. And all that happens is we get these artificial peaks of dopamine in our bodies, but when you go up, you come down. So the crashes are harder as well. So then you kind of get this yo-yo effect on your mood and your well-being. That is very detrimental, rather than a kind of a steady release of dopamine or a steady level of happiness and well-being. It's just the up and down, which becomes I was going to say a cycle, but a cycle's this way. But this is the vicious cycle that it creates.
So a lot of people who might be doing this, like you said, there are various things that might be going on with them, right? And we don't know what is going on with any one person and what challenges they're having. But if you were just to kind of... before the point that anyone addresses the issues behind why they're buying this and why they're kind of using little dopamine hits of buying stuff, and it's very easy to do so now. Online shopping, it's easier than ever. All the apps, honestly, it's ridiculous. 2 clicks on the side of your phone, you bought this and that, it's delivered to your house.
Whilst watching Netflix, whilst having your dinner. It's
honestly
very absent-minded.
It really is, right? So what would you say to somebody who needs to slow down and they know, okay, I'm getting a bit out of control, the band-aids are becoming a bit too kind of, I'm sticking them everywhere,
covered in band-aids. What I say, I think that the pandemic was a horrific time, but what it did do is it pressed the pause button by force. People were forced to pause, and then you realise, hang on a minute, I've been wearing the same clothes for 5 days. And I still feel like myself, pretty much. I'm still getting the job done. My partner isn't particularly looking at me any different. And you realise it doesn't really make that much difference, actually. And I think people needed that to be able to break that cycle of buying in order to see that you don't need to. It's like a habit, and habit formation comes with you engage in a habit or you do a behaviour, and then you get some kind of reward. Whether the reward is dopamine, whether the reward is people looking at you when you walk into a room, people commenting, don't you look nice? There's always some kind of payoff for it. But we didn't get that during the pandemic in the same way. So it created a forced break. So I would say to a person who is wanting to slow down, if you can, go to cold turkey a little bit or put some parameters around your shopping. It'd be so helpful. I know people who have given up buying new clothes for a year, just see if they can. And when they did that, it allowed them that time and the space to examine their shopping habits, to examine why they buy, when they buy. Do they find they buy most often when they're bored, when they're feeling low, when they've had a tough day at work, when they have to face a difficult situation? When are you doing it? You don't know when you're doing it unless you give yourself the time and the headspace to examine those moments. So I'd say, firstly, if you can take a break, that's the best thing to do. Or you can put some parameters, perhaps. Maybe you might say to yourself, I'm only going to buy things that are made from natural fibres. And at least putting that parameter gives you the time, or it reduces the...
You've limited yourself already, which is a good thing.
There we go. It limits the amount of options you have. So you might say, well, I'm not going to buy this or this or this. So then you become more discerning and you begin to shop more consciously and more deliberately. Or perhaps you might say, right, I'm only going to buy things where the brand discloses where the items were made, in which factory, and do they pay their workers a fair living wage. So that gives you parameters as well. So you need these parameters at the moment. If you're just kind of buying indiscriminately everything and anything, then that's where the problem lies. I think what we need to try to move towards is a mindful consumption, whereby you're saying, do I really need this item? What do I need it for? Am I going to be able to wear it with at least 5 other items in my wardrobe? Will I wear it for years to come? Do I like it? If it costs double the amount, would I still like it? Would I still buy it? If you wouldn't, then you probably don't like it that much. Also, giving yourself the space. A really simple thing to do is, if you see something you really, really like, go away, give yourself a couple of days and say, right, if I'm still thinking about the item in a few days, then I'll get it. If I've forgotten about it, the chances are you didn't really want it.
Okay.
So you really need to build in those ways to allow yourself the space to slow down. Because just saying slow down is very hard for us to do because the world is telling us to speed up. Social media, every bus has an advert on it for clothes. The tube station's got billboards for clothes. It's coming at you from all angles. So you need to build in those parameters, a framework for yourself to say, how can I slow down?
Yeah, and it is quite difficult because, like you said, all these things they're probably distorting our sense of self in a way.
They do distort our sense of self, and they make us not think consciously about what we're buying because it comes too easily to us. It is literally at our fingertips. We do not have to emotionally or cognitively engage anymore in the same way that we used to when you had to get on a bus or get in your car to drive to the shopping centre. You had to walk around the shops, you had to carry the bags, you had to save up because clothing was not as cheap comparatively to how much you earn. It was a lot more effort, and trend cycles weren't as fast, so it was very different.
So fashion companies must be using these certain psychological triggers then to make
yeah.
But
They love it.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of a more advanced than what like regular people will even realize that is happening. You know,
it's all mind games. You know, like when you go onto a website and it says 15 or 50 people are looking at this item right now.
Yes.
Why do I care?
Yes, I've noticed that recently.
And they're telling you that, and that's kind of like the scarcity bias. It's, I better get it now before it goes. And it's that kind of fake urgency. There's no real urgency there. It's a game. And also, if you don't get it, so what? And ask yourself, what would happen if I didn't have this? Ask yourself, and the chances are nothing would happen. So let it go. They use things like that. You know, they do countdowns, 2 days until the next drop. So you're waiting urgently to see what's going to come in. They use celebrities, well-known faces on their campaigns because they know if you associate beauty and wealth and popularity and being seen in a positive light with that celebrity, then perhaps you can get a little piece of what they have by owning clothing that they would wear. Obviously, most often, the brands they're promoting, if they're kind of fast fashion, they don't really wear it, but they're selling it to you and expecting you to wear it. So it's a false commodity, it's a false narrative that's being sold to you, but that's the psychology they're using on us.
Okay, so I mean, this is good to talk about it to actually make people aware. No, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to make people aware that this is what you are, the product, right? You are the product.
Yeah,
and
we're nothing but commodities.
Yeah.
To brands, not to me.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to just I don't want to forget about mentioning this, right? You know how people say, this is flattering, you should wear this, it's flattering, dress for your shape. What does flattering really actually mean psychologically? What does that mean? And are we trying to hide bits of ourselves? Are we trying to kind of show bits of ourselves? What do we need to even care about that? Because it's a compliment that people throw out.
I think I said to you a moment ago about skin tone, and I think it makes me think about like social constructs, and I guess social psychology in terms of what is socially expected or socially valued, or what in our cultures are seen as positives even. So I think when people talk about body shape and that's flattering for your body shape, I really don't like that, because what the underlying narrative is, there is a preferred body shape, isn't it? Because that, flattering in what way? That it's always going to be, oh, that makes your waist look really small, so the best body to have is a small waist. Oh, that makes you look really slim, so you're saying the best way to be is slim. It's not. It shouldn't be about that. It can be, things can be flattering in terms of it suits the person, and sometimes it might be that it suits their character or what you know of them. So if they're a very vivacious person, they're very loud and bubbly, and they're wearing bright colours and patterns, you go, oh my gosh, this suits you. But what you're meaning is, what you are wearing to me aligns with what I know of you, and that's different. That's an alignment. So you're kind of saying it's flattering to who you are. But
I like that. I like thinking of it that way.
That's a nicer way. Yeah. Sometimes you see that, you think that's very you.
Yeah.
It's nice. And there are some things that, I guess it's all social, isn't it? In terms of, you might say to a person, that's flattering. You know, when I say that's flattering to your skin tone, what did I mean? Maybe, and what I meant is that it made your skin look kind of like healthy, a glow. When sometimes you might wear a colour and it might be kind of clash with your skin tone, or for me, some colours might maybe wash me out. They make me look a bit more greyed, which I don't like. But then that should be personal, actually. It shouldn't be another person to tell me it's flattering. So I take back my compliment to you. I apologise, but I take it back. But yeah, I think...
Well, I like that compliment, so I'm going to hold on to that.
I feel like as a fellow brown person, you kind of want that glow.
Yeah.
You want that warmth, you want the richness that we get when the sun comes out, our skin comes back to life.
Yep.
So, but then again, that's the cultural context. We know, historically coming from warm countries, that's what we want our skin to look like, and that's when it's healthiest. So there is actually that link between flattery and health as well.
Yeah.
At times, but I think most often when people say that's flattering, it's about these expectations we have on our bodies and expectations that have been socially imposed on us. That's what we're talking to.
Okay. You know, I was just looking at this study the other day that was recently done that says that 84% of women, and I think about 6,000 people were in this survey, 84% sometimes look at their wardrobe and say, I have nothing to wear.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
So what is even that about? What's that about? If we've got a whole wardrobe full of clothes, why are we saying I've got nothing to wear?
I think I've touched on that in terms of like, so just not to be repetitive for the listener, I am aware I've said these things, but I think it's a culmination of so many things. One is that it is harder now than ever, I think, to find your own personal style and your personal identity, because we have so many outlets shouting at us as to how we ought to present and how we ought to be. Therefore, that when we're buying clothing so often now, we're buying it for the person we ought to be rather than who we really are. So when you open the doors of your wardrobe, you're faced with things that might not really reflect or feel like you. That's one thing. I think another is... there's lots of reasons that you might be in front of your wardrobe and feel like you've got nothing to wear. The other thing is, I think I touched on it slightly earlier on, is about attachment. I think we shop so much these days and shop so fast that you don't have a chance to build a relationship with that clothing. So it has no meaning to you, and also it's got less value. I think over the decades, clothing has become less and less valued, literally, physically, in terms of like what it's priced as. People have less idea of the work that goes into it, in terms of the hands that have touched it, how much time, the creativity, the process, the effort. That is not valued anymore. Not because people don't want to value it, because they're not aware. I think people think that some kind of garment fairy appears and drops the clothes in their favourite shop or online, and then it appears at your doorstep magically. That's how I think people think clothing comes to them these days. So because there's less value in your clothing, you are less likely, I think, to take care of it, to hold on to it. And if you're less likely to take care of it and hold on to it, you don't live your life in those clothes. So they have little meaning to you. So you open your wardrobe, and it's just a bunch of stuff. It is literally just stuff. The only thing that makes a bit of fabric your clothing is because it has some meaning to you. It has some memory in it. If you don't have any memories of you wearing that clothing at a concert or out with your friends or at a job interview, I don't keep going about job interviews, or like your job, then it's not your clothes. They're just clothes, because you haven't had the time to kind of forge that bond with them. So another issue is about time, literally, because we wear things once, all too often, people now, or even twice, and then you get rid of it. I think, and trends change so fast well.
They really do.
So you open your wardrobe, and yes, you've got a wardrobe full of mermaid core, but now we're on to cottage core. So now what are you going to do? So now you're looking, and again, you're saying to yourself, oh my gosh, I've got nothing to wear. So you've got this kind of like horribly heady combination of the clothing in your wardrobe not truly aligning with who you are, the clothing being trend-led, and also being devalued, so you have no value to it, and also just because it's that kind of easy come, easy go, it's just stuff is what happens.
But then what do we even do about that if we're like, oh my God, this is all like cottagecore and I want to do this now, and now I want to go to like being like a Y2K baddie kind of look or whatever. What do you do?
Nice
Or
look.
do you just
Okay.
ignore the trends in the first place? Like, how do you avoid that it being one trend and then that becomes kind of like over, you know?
This is where identity comes in. If you are, if you're, if you have had the chance and the opportunity in life to forge your own identity, there's lots of things that can happen to you that can shake that. You know, you might grow up in a family or a society that's very directive, so you're not able to really explore yourself. Many things could happen. Why? Or, you know, we have horribly high rates in this country of clothing poverty. So therefore, you don't have the opportunity to try on different versions of yourself because you can't afford to buy different clothes to do that. So therefore, you get a bit stuck. But I think that in terms of what you can do, if you're faced with a wardrobe full of clothing, you know, you want to be Y2K baddie. If you know what, if you already know what your personal style is, then you won't be swayed and waver too far from your central core anytime. You know, I think about a perfect example is Madonna. She has reinvented herself so many times, but what I would say is that she hasn't reinvented herself. She reinvents her style, but nobody looks at that and goes, oh, she's changed, different person. She's just Madonna in different outfits, but she always kind of has that central tenet as to who she is. If you have that, then regardless of what you wear, you still feel like yourself because you are secure and comfortable and confident in your sense of self and also your identity, because you've had that chance in your life to go through the stages of identity formation and kind of say, I get who I am as a person. Therefore, when these trends come along, mermaid core, you're like, okay, that's interesting, but I know who I am, so I know that's not for me. If you do not know that it's not for you, but yet social media is telling you it should be for you, then you're more likely to be swayed. So it's almost, if you picture it like an oak tree, the more stable you are in your sense of self, the less you'll be swayed. If you are more like a young sapling in your identity and you're still trying to figure it out, you're going to be swayed which way and the other. So I think that is what happens to people. So I think I would tell a person to slow down. Always my message to slow down in different ways. And maybe look through social media, look on things like Pinterest, look through old pictures of yourself, do what you watch runway shows and think about what styles do I actually like. When I'm presented with like all of this information, what do I like? So I know I like clean cuts. I like tailoring. I like simplistic looks. I like quite classic looks. I'm not into floral. I'm not into ditzy. I'm not into frills. So I know that. So if cottagecore comes along, I can appreciate very cute, but I'm not going to be swayed by it because I know my own sense of style. So I think people need to look into themselves firstly and become a bit more secure not in a negative way, but become more secure and more sure of their own style first, because then it is easier for you to build this kind of capsule wardrobe that really reflects who you are. If you don't know that, then how do you know what to buy?
Okay, so capsule wardrobe, that is a term which a lot of us kind of hear as well. So for people that don't know, they're thinking, what is a capsule wardrobe?
I'll be honest with you, I don't have one because I also used to shop a lot when I was a bit younger, but I was also a hoarder. But I think I bought things, but I've kept them for a long time.
Right.
And then just to go back to your question about what do you do when you're faced with the wardrobe for the things that you think, I have nothing to wear, I would say tailor it. So I've taken things that, you know, I had from my late 20s that I think, oh, I love this still, but I can't wear it because it doesn't fit me anymore. I take it to the tailors, I have the button moved so that it's a bit bigger so it fits like you know, my more mature body, or I've taken things and I've dyed them to change the colour because I don't want to wear that bright colour, or, you know, I've tailored it to make it a V-neck rather than a round neck. You can really work with the clothes that you have. If they are not working and serving you in that moment, fine, don't throw them away. Think about what needs to change. Or sometimes you have a wardrobe that's very, very disparate because it's full of multiple confused ideas. You can think about what would be the one or two key pieces that I would need to bring these together. And sometimes it's those kind of core pieces. Sometimes like it's a plain white t-shirt, a blazer, a plain pair of jeans. Sometimes it's that brings things together. So it's thinking about how can I make them work? Not that, nothing works. It's how can I make them work? And also not just how, but also why. If you know that, you're in a better position. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the capsule wardrobe, I would say it's more... A capsule wardrobe doesn't mean that you have just only a couple of pieces. Well, it does. But it can also be that you've got a wardrobe that When you take one item from here and one from here, you can easily mix and match because they work together.
Okay.
If you have a wardrobe where many items in there work together, then you're doing well, because then it allows you to maximize your wardrobe. I think, like, I don't know what the statistic is, but it's something like people wear only like 20 or 30% of their actual wardrobe.
Yeah, no, I read that as well.
Yeah.
But then having too much stuff as well in your wardrobe, is that an issue as well? Because then it's decision fatigue, isn't
Exactly,
it? Like, looking
yeah.
at it being like, oh, I'm wasting, like, 10 minutes
Yeah.
deciding what to wear even.
Yeah. And who's got time when you're getting ready in the morning to go through all those clothes,
Yeah.
to go, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. You're going to be lost for decisions. Whereas if you know your style, you know what you have in your wardrobe, you've got fewer pieces, but you've got good quality pieces in there, then, they're going to last longer. You have time to build a relationship with them. You have time to remember they're even there because you've worn them 1,000 times already. You've got fewer pieces in there. The tones might be similar. The cuts might be similar. So they work together and they all work for you as a person.
Okay.
So then, you won't have that decision fatigue, because it'll be more of a case of, well, where am I going today? Well, I'm going to the office. So yes, I've got a wardrobe full of neutrals because I love neutrals, but I'm not going to go for the neutral cut-out dress that's like a miniskirt. I'm going to go for, I don't know, this neutral shirt with this, like, I don't know, neutral pair of, I don't know, cargo pants and some smart shoes. So it's just like, it's still you, but you're taking what works for the environment you're going to be in and who you want to be in that space.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about buying secondhand and things like vintage, for example?
Oh, I love it, obviously. I love it. I think I'm more of a Depop person, but I also love vintage. There's such a wealth of stuff on there. You've got Depop, vintage, Vestiaire is fantastic as well. And, like, I love also rental platforms as well, like Her, By Rotation. I think anything that allows you to keep things in circulation. We need that circular economy because, the old statistic, we've got enough clothing on this planet to last us many, many, many years. So I think, and with trends coming around so fast, it's so common for an item to be trending. Do you remember, like, a couple of years back, there was that Zara dress, was like a polka dot Zara dress that came in, like, was it white and navy blue or navy blue and white? Or was it black and white? But everybody had it. Everybody. There was absolutely no need at that point to go and buy one brand new, because I guarantee every resale platform was drenched in them. The same thing happens now, because what people do, because we are not shopping as consciously, or often shopping for other people and shopping for that ought self, the ideal self, we go out and we buy something because everybody else has it. This is the thing that I'm supposed to have. You buy it, you wear it once. But once you have a little bit of time with that item of clothing, you think, I don't actually love it on me. You put it in your wardrobe, hang it up, or you sell it. So now suddenly everyone's gone out, knee-jerk reaction. Everyone's bought this must-have item, but then half the people have gone, it's not for me, and they've sold it. Now the secondhand space is covered with them. So I love, the secondhand platforms, because it also allows you to find items that otherwise might not have easily have come to mind. Because when you go into, or even you go online shopping, you are seeing what is in style at that moment and what brands tell you should be wearing this season at the moment. As opposed to when you go online, you are going to see clothes from a range of seasons.
From vintage and similar
vintage and
platforms.
Depop, yeah. You're going to see clothing from over the years. You're going to see clothing that might come from different places around the world. So you get a wider range. And by being exposed to and being able to pick from a wider range of clothing, you are more able to really think about what do I, Dion, like. It's not just, this is this narrow bandwidth or this narrow range of clothing that is in right now that I have to pick from. Now I have the chance to pick from all of this. So then you have a better chance of honing your personal style, because you've got a greater range. And also, it's better for the environment. That's the number one thing.
And it's cheaper.
I should say.
It's cheaper.
Yes, better
as well.
for your pocket. Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, just the last thing I wanted to ask you, Dion, is what is one small step that viewers and listeners could take, this week, for example, to just feel more aligned in what they wear?
Oh, not what I thought you were going to ask me. To feel more aligned with what they wear. I would challenge them to do a style check-in and to write down if they want, or they can do it visually with pictures, like using a platform, to think about what are some items, at least 3 items they have in their wardrobe, that when they wear them, they feel happy. What are some items that when they wear them, they feel most themselves? What are some items they've had a happy memory in, or a pleasant memory, or a memory that means something to them? And make a note and look at what are those items. And then say, what are the items that haven't come up? And then ask yourself why. Just check in with that. And I think it's quite illuminating to critically examine your wardrobe in that way and your relationship with it, because again, like I say, we don't slow down often enough to be able to do that. And I think once you are able to slow down and critically examine your wardrobe in that way, then you can use that as a framework going forward to say, actually, looking at this, I notice that the clothing that I picked out that I feel happiest, most comfortable in, are these types of clothes. Therefore, going forward, I'm going to use that to more consciously buy and only buy things, or more often buy things that fit that. And I've noticed that actually, that when I buy things that are too revealing, I think I want to wear them, but I never do. Because I've done my check-in and it doesn't come under things that make me happy, no happy memories in them, I don't feel most myself in them. So it just helps you to do that kind of almost like an audit of what you have in your wardrobe. It's an emotional audit.
Sometimes I'll do that, and then I'll like be trying on different combinations, and I find it quite fun. And I've got this corset, right? You know, when you said, something that you really love and you have some attachment to. From my Y2K baddie days, right? The OG Y2K baddie days, I saved this corset, this denim corset.
Oh, so I quite like the sound of this.
Yeah, it's really nice, and I actually wore it to a concert like the other year, and I don't think I'm ever gonna get rid of that. I'm not going. There's a couple of items I'm never gonna get rid of. I'm not getting rid of that.
Yeah, it's making me think of an outfit I really want to wear. I saw something the other day, but I'm gonna buy it secondhand, obviously. Wearing like a denim corset over a white shirt. It looks so cute with big wide leg trousers. Again, I like structure, tailoring. There we go.
Okay, that sounds nice. Yeah, I might even try that, copy that look myself actually with my corset. So if you just want to share a lifestyle prescription, that's something that you have started doing that's had an impact on your well-being that you want to share with our viewers and listeners.
Something that I've done. So I think something that's been very, very helpful for me over the years, because I also used to shop too much. I used to shop for fun. But then I realised, it took me a long while to actually realise shopping is not an activity in that way. It shouldn't be for fun. It should be out of necessity. But something I did that was very helpful was engaging more with the sustainability kind of content that's out there from commentators, and going to talks, listening to podcasts, reading books and articles, and really tuning in to the information that was out there. And I think once you have learned something or heard it, you can't unlearn it. And that had the biggest impact on me. I was a massive impulse buyer. If I walked past a shop and I saw something very pretty, like a magpie, I was drawn in and I had to have it. But literally, once I learnt more about the supply chain of the fashion industry, understanding the amount of different people whose hands might have touched my clothing before it got to me, how they were being treated, how waterways, in East Asia are being polluted, the impact on people's physical health, their mental health. When I literally would walk past that same shop, I won't name it, and look at the clothing, I saw it differently. Now, it made me feel a bit, not sick, but it turned me off. Whereas before I thought, oh wow, isn't that gorgeous, it's beautiful. Now I look at that mannequin in the window and I don't see just the clothes, I see the messages, and I see the lives and the history and maybe and everything behind it now. So I think learning and educating yourself is a massive tool that we can all use to help ourselves consume more consciously and to slow down.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much for coming on today.
No,
it's been fascinating talking to you. I really, really enjoyed it. And I hope that you have enjoyed this episode of The Lifestyle Prescription. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And also share this with someone who you think might want to rethink their relationship with their wardrobe. Until the next one, bye.